Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much want to thank first OSEP and Dr. Coffey for providing Nick and I this opportunity to share information regarding our professional development data tool. Most of you know who I am. I work as an education specialist at the Rhode Island Department of Education. I am also the Rhode Island SPDG coordinator. David Cienko is our Rhode Island SPDG director. Nick?
Yep. And I am the co-project director at the American Institutes for Research for the evaluation of the SPDG.
For this session, we will follow the OSEP protocol shared with us for this session. Nick and I will present an overview of our professional development data tool during the first 13 to 15 minutes. Then we will engage in Q&A during the remainder of our time. As we progress through our presentation, consider the following. What did you find useful or effective with the tool? What questions do you have about the tool? Do you have a similar tool you use in your SPDG project? What concerns might teachers have when being observed? How might you adapt this measure for use in your SPDG work? For example, could an analogous tool in another subject area be created? How can we in Rhode Island use data from this tool to inform future SPDG or other SEA initiatives? So I believe, Nick, that you dropped those questions into the chat, and those will help participants do some thinking while they're listening.
I did. Yes, those are available now.
Okay, thank you. As part of our original SPDG proposal submitted in 2021, we identified a research-based teacher observation fidelity measure specific to the science of reading and structured literacy concepts. We knew the chosen measure would not only provide us with data linking SPDG-funded professional learning to requirements under Rhode Island's Right to Read Act, but also provide a mechanism for robust monitoring linked to student engagement. The PD data tool was adapted from the Coach's Classroom Observation Tool, or CCOT, created by the Regional Educational Laboratory Southeast and utilized by Mississippi State literacy coaches. While the plan for the PD data tool is to implement it in all SPDG-funded LEAs, for tool development, we chose to collaborate with our SPDG-funded high needs school district. Soon after our collaboration began, both central office leadership and the teachers union had reservations regarding the CCOT due to its focus on observing teacher behaviors. Subsequently, we decided to shift the focus from observing the teacher to observing student engagement during structured literacy lessons. Next slide. Let us first review the tool, then we will share logistical information. Nick will drop the link to a PDF version in the chat, then he will introduce the tool. So I will go ahead and pause for just a moment.
Let me just put the link in the chat. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Nick, I can't really hear you. You're a little muffled for some reason.
Oh, uh-oh.
Okay.
If I speak a little louder, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. That's better. Sorry, what were you saying? What were you asking?
Just saying the link for the tool is now available in the chat. And then I was asking Mary if we were ready to proceed, since we gave a couple minutes to look over those directions.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. The data for the tool is anonymous, and there is a rating system for each of the 10 literacy subject areas, beginning on this slide and continuing into the next. So observers will only view 1 to 2 subject areas, and Mary will talk about that a little bit more in the coming slide. Then just a quick aside here that there are some general guiding questions for the observers, as well as some explainers of the reading descriptors for engagement. Mary?
Yep, thank you. So as we developed this part of the tool, we felt it critical to address considerations for multilingual learners and students with disabilities, or as we say in Rhode Island, differently abled students. For MLLs, we know that leveraging the student's home language supports their development of literacy in English. We also know that research has identified numerous ways to scaffold activities and extend opportunities to support active and productive participation of MLLs during literacy activities. For differently abled students, we detail examples of appropriate and effective technologies and accommodations observers may see students utilizing. The next two slides show additional evidence of engagement across the 10 identified literacy subject areas. We also include some guiding questions that support teacher and observer understanding of high student engagement for that subject area. It is important to note the look-fors in the evidence of engagement column are not exhaustive. That is, observers may see student engagement behaviors not listed here. To ensure we have a productive conversation in a few minutes, I will pause now for a minute so you can review the slide. I will then move to the next slide so you can review those subject areas for an additional minute. Next slide, please. So let me go ahead and pause again for another minute. Next slide, please. Across the next two slides, Nick and I will share logistics related to the PD data tool. As mentioned, we partnered with the SPDG-funded High Needs School District to develop this tool. In this district, we funded over 300 teachers in the Letters for Elementary Educators program. Importantly, once we developed the tool, the district and union agreed to have us pilot the tool with a small group of teachers. This provided us an opportunity to engage in a review of the use of the tool and associated digital online form. Slight adjustments were made. We also debriefed with the district and union just a few weeks ago. They felt good about the process and acknowledged they are ready for full implementation starting this January. Regarding implementation with other SPDG-funded LEAs, we will commence our observations in February and March. Nick?
So there are going to be three uses primarily for this data and disseminating it. The first is going to be feedback to leaders, which will cover general trends and include celebrations of effective evidence, as well as just some general wonderings that we might have. Then this data is going to inform future RIDE literacy initiatives that are either SPDG specific, but also beyond the SPDG. And then finally, this PD data tool is one of our formal program measures for implementation fidelity for the RIDE SPDG. And data will be analyzed and shared in our annual SPDG performance. So on this slide, we're sharing additional logistical information. Participants were selected based on their completion of SPDG-funded professional development that qualified as proficiency under Rhode Island's Right to Read Act. So our plan is to observe each participating teacher 2 times, and the length of those observations will run between 20 and 30 minutes and will be conducted in person. Mary?
Thank you, Nick. The observers will be RIDE staff and RIDE consultants who have experience teaching structured literacy lessons. Observers will engage in inter-rater reliability sessions to calibrate their scoring and distillation of observation notes into qualitative trend information to be shared with LEA leaders, other RIDE offices, and the annual SPDG report. Last, our next steps are providing individual overview Zoom sessions to district leaders to provide them the information we presented today and to begin the process of scheduling observations. On this slide, we share some of the logistical information at a glance.
Give a moment to follow that over. I'm going to proceed to the next slide.
And now I'll stop sharing my screen, and Nick and I look forward to your comments and answering your questions. Nick and I thank you so much. Thank you so much.